The bounty hunter's mandibles twitched in irritation as he leaned forward, his four eyes narrowing at the cloaked figure across the table. Repeat that. You heard me, the client said, voice steady. I want you to kill a human. A hush fell over the dimly lit cantina. Even those who had been engaged in their own hushed dealings turned their attention toward the conversation. The bounty hunter exhaled sharply through his spiracles, his segmented fingers tightening around the metal surface of the table. No guild will take that contract, he said flatly. And if you had the sense the cosmos gave a moon rat, you'd know why. The client scoffed, leaning back. Don't tell me the great Savan Morcat fears an ordinary mammal. Morcat bared his fangs, but it wasn't in a snarl, it was closer to a mirthless smile. Ordinary? That word does not belong in the same sentence as a human. You are asking for something that is far more trouble than it's worth. The client frowned. Then tell me why. The bounty hunter sighed and leaned back, his thick carapace creaking slightly as he shifted his weight. You want a lesson in history, is that it? Fine. I'll tell you why no one with half a brain will take your contract. Order a drink and listen carefully. Long ago, before humans had made their mark on the stars, the Jar Dominion was expanding. They were ruthless conquerors, systematically bringing primitive worlds under their control, extracting resources, and subjugating populations with brutal efficiency. No species had resisted them for more than a decade. Then they reached Sol. At first, the humans were little more than an afterthought, primitive, disorganized, divided into nations that squabbled among themselves. The Jar strategists assumed that it would be another routine conquest. They struck quickly, disabling orbital defenses and making planetfall in coordinated waves, expecting submission within weeks. That was their first mistake. Unlike other species, the humans did not surrender. They adapted. Where other civilizations broke under the weight of invasion, humans resisted in ways the Dominion had never seen. In the first few months, Dominion forces faced brutal urban skirmishes where human insurgents would strike from the shadows, only to vanish into smoke and ruin. Buildings became traps. Entire battalions were wiped out by what should have been insignificant pockets of resistance. Supply lines were cut. Communication networks were hacked and distorted. The Jar assumed it was just the usual struggle before eventual domination. That was their second mistake. What they didn't understand was that humans were not just fighting for survival. They were hunting. They studied their enemy, learned their tactics, stole their weapons, and repurposed their technology. Within a year, humans weren't just defending Earth, they were striking back, launching guerrilla raids on Jar strongholds, seizing warships, and turning their captors' own strategies against them. But the true terror began when the Dominion realized something else about humanity: they refused to stay dead. The Dominion was used to species that feared loss, that hesitated when faced with overwhelming odds. Humans did not hesitate. They treated death as an inconvenience, a delay in their plans. Even when their cities burned, even when they lost everything, they pressed on with relentless fury. When one human fell, a dozen more rose to take their place. And they learned. Each loss taught them something new, about the enemy, about war, about survival. For the first time in their history, the Dominion felt fear. By the third year, the humans had spread beyond their world, commandeering Dominion vessels and turning them against their former masters. They pushed outward, system by system, liberating every species the Dominion had subjugated. The conquered rose alongside them, emboldened by their defiance, inspired by the sheer audacity of these creatures who refused to kneel. It took only a decade for the mighty Dominion to fall. And humans? They didn't stop. After toppling the Dominion, they didn't claim its territory as their own. They didn't impose their rule or demand tribute. Instead, they formed the Galactic Accord, a coalition built not on fear, but on cooperation. They rebuilt the civilizations that had been ravaged, fostered alliances, and forged a peace that had never before existed in the known galaxy. Now, when humans speak, the galaxy listens. When they fight, empires fall. And when someone is foolish enough to target them, Well, let's just say that no one who has ever hunted a human has lived to tell about it. You kill a human, and you won't just face their family. You won't just face their planet. You'll face all of them. And believe me, no amount of money is worth that kind of doom. The client sat in stunned silence, fingers drumming against the table. So, what do you suggest? Morkat chuckled darkly. If a human insulted you, insult them back. If they wronged you, challenge them to a duel. Humans love a good fight, but it's the kind that doesn't end in extermination. And if you really can't let go of this grudge, then you had better disappear. Because if you go after a human, they will come for you. And they will not stop. The client swallowed hard and stood quickly. Perhaps I should reconsider. Smartest thing you've said all night, Morkat murmured as the figure vanished into the neon-lit streets. He signaled the bartender for another drink, shaking his head with amusement. The humans had been underestimated once. It would never happen again.